Is that what you're going to do?
Yes.
Is that?
This is my prayer posture. And I tell you, the reason why I changed my prayer posture is because I'm receiving. I'm surrendering and I'm receiving. People don't even really know how powerful that is, that you receive once you surrender.
Amen.
It's the same posture.
And with that being said,
Dun, 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 dun.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time right now,
Yes,
Father.
Lord.
And we thank you for what you're going to do with this podcast.
Yes.
We thank you for this relationship, this friendship, Father, everything that you've done with us. I'm thankful that we got to meet on this side of heaven, Father.
Yes, Lord.
Have your way at this time. Bless our mouths, our conversation,
Yes.
and bless the listeners, Father. Let them be blessed by it. We pray that we have an effect in the world that only you could provide, Father. That'll bring people together, that'll help people love, and that'll just help us have a better understanding and perspectives and not be selfish, Father. We thank you. Have your way at this time, and it's in your precious Son, Yeshua name. I ask you all these things. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, and allow us to continue to surrender and receive.
Amen.
Stay in a receptive posture.
Always. Stay in that posture.
Always.
So, deep skydiving.
Deep skydiving.
Day 1. Wow. All right, so we're here.
We're here. Welcome to Deep Skydiving Podcast.
Welcome.
It's AJ
And Darah.
and Darah.
Yeah. Friends for many years. It's been how long?
I've known you for, 2022? 13 years.
Jeez. That's a long time.
I think we've been close friends since, 14, 15?
Yeah.
So that's about 7, 8 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the relationship we have is a dynamic that
Can't really explain
many
it.
can't explain and many can't understand.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Deep skydiving.
So did you want to, the name came from AJ, of course. So I'm going to let him introduce what that means. But I think it's important for you all to know that deep skydiving comes from or derives from the fact that both of us went skydiving for my birthday. He asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And I don't know what I was thinking. Honestly, it was literally maybe a psychotic break or maybe it was Jesus. Who knows? But I told him that I wanted to go skydiving. I don't know why I told this man of all people that I want to go skydiving, because what's going to happen is AJ is going to challenge me.
And we're going to go skydiving. Yeah.
Exactly. So I tell him that's what I want for my birthday. He books the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a week before you text me and you were like,
I don't remember. I can't even remember what year it was. I think it was like 2017 or 18.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I can't remember. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
19 maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know,
19.
but we went skydiving.
Yeah, but he texted me like a week before we were supposed to go, and he was like, "I'm not jumping out of a plane." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "No." He's like, "I'm not gonna do it." And I was like, "Nah."
I was joking though.
Yeah, he was joking.
I was joking,
but I was like, "Nah, we gotta do it." And he was like, "Nah, I'm just playing." But it's funny that he said that because of our experience. And I'm just going to let him tell you all like what deep skydiving means before we then go into the specifics of our event. So
deep skydiving. So like we said, we have a relationship that many can't understand. And so we have deep understandings of each other. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the skydiving was an event that we shared together. And it was like an intimate event with us together, and it was like an intimate event individually.
Yeah.
And so we went together, but of course we didn't jump together.
Mm-mm.
And we both had our own experience with it. And it was something that we both, like she said, I don't think that I was really committed to doing it. Even though I bought the tickets, I don't think I was like mentally committed to doing it. It was just something where I said I would never do, and I guess I was just like, I'm going to face my fears and we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And I don't think either of us knew what to expect.
Right. We didn't.
And so it was kind of like crossing the line for something. Am I saying that right?
No, it was. I think that we were literally going into a space that neither one of us were familiar with at all. Like, yeah. I think I did indoor skydiving before, but even that was like in Arizona. It was like in the middle of nowhere.
I never even done that before.
Yeah, but I mean, I did it, but it's completely different. Like, so you have this huge turbine that's basically blowing you up, and you have on this like big, like balloon suit almost,
Yeah.
and it just, so it's just a different realm. I don't think that even in my profession, there are a lot of people who talk about, them going skydiving and things like that, but I still don't feel like it becomes real until you go.
Do it.
Yeah. Because even that day, I was kind of, it was all very surreal. Like, it didn't
It
become
definitely
real
was.
until we started putting on that equipment.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It didn't become real till we started going up. For me.
for you,
Yeah.
nah, it
What?
got real when I put on that equipment. No, when I started signing the release notes, because at that point I'm surrendering.
I had a peace though. Like I wasn't scared,
No, me either.
but it did get real when we started going up in that tiny plane, and it's like
Absolutely.
every freaking piece of wind, every cloud, it was like I couldn't wait to jump.
And it seemed like it was like a crop plane though. Like that plane was like small.
I didn't think we was gonna make it up.
Right. Yeah.
That's how
it was very, very weird. But anyway, back to the name.
And so I came up with it because deep sea diving came to mind, just because of how our conversations go a lot of times. Like we do tend to go deep sometimes, and we get revelations from each other. And so we're hoping we could bring these things to the people, you
Absolutely.
know, and they can do the same, do likewise, come to greater understandings, and we can mend relationships between males and females, you know, especially in our community. I feel like males and females, men and women, are pitted against each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that hurts us. Well, I know it hurts us more than it helps. It doesn't help at all.
At all.
So.
And I think it's important to also introduce that in addition to it, the deep part is that both AJ and I are believers in Christ. And that's basically what makes our relationship work. Like,
Foundation.
that's the reason why it's hard to explain, because foundationally we have our own individual relationships with who God is. And we know that at the end of the day, it's not really about us. It's about, what God asks us to do, which is, love thy neighbor as thyself. Like my relationship with AJ is important to God.
Bingo.
So we got to figure this thing out. And that's one thing that I feel like is important.
That saying. I love that.
I mean, you told me something very powerful. That's what you said. You said, our relationship with one another is what's important to God, and then what our relationship with God should be what's important to us, right? So I've always kept that, you know what I mean? And I think that that's important too. Yeah, I'm serious. But I think that's important to saying why the deep part is in front of skydiving is because the depth is God. The depth is Christ.
First and foremost, most definitely.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think everybody should keep that. Like, God created us for a relationship, not just with him, but with each other also. And when we do keep that mindset like that, like our relationship is important to him, it's just like you said, well, we got to figure this thing out.
You got to figure it out.
I love that saying.
Yeah.
We got to figure this out.
We got to figure it out. And I think that more than anything, and we talked about, the purpose of this podcast and everything. I know you and I were just, kind of like mulling over like what we should, say the purpose is. But really, viewers, really listeners, our biggest purpose is not only for you all to be able to relate to one another, but also, gaining in your relationship with God, knowing that it is instrumental in how you will relate to one another.
Yes.
AJ and I have this ability to see both sides, and that's what we'll figure it out. So there will be times when we're going to be arguing on the affirmative, and then what's the opposite? Opposing. There we go. See, that's what I need to. So that there'll be times where we're gonna, go at both. And I need you all to know too, it's important for you all to know that I am not the token, woman here. I don't like to use the word female. I feel like there's so much that goes along with being a woman.
What do you mean you're not the token woman?
Because I don't want everybody to feel like what I say here on this podcast is going to be the universal woman, because I don't claim to be that.
Okay.
So I'll try to do a lot of research. I have a lot of female friends. Here I go. But women friends. Yeah. I have a lot of women friends who will be able to give me insight. And if there is anything that I can contribute to, this podcast that will help for the spectrum, because, we as women, we got a full array of emotions and things that we deal with every single day. Our circumstances are different. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, because I don't want men who are listening to think, well, Darah said it, so, that's the way that you probably like it.
Hold
that's
up.
Not the case.
Well, maybe not the way that you like it, but maybe the way it's supposed to be.
No.
Darah said it.
No.
So I know this woman.
No.
And yeah.
No, I really don't want y'all to think that at all. I really want y'all to take what I say and figure out where you stand on it, because every time I come to a session, to this podcast, what I'm going to do is, before I even sit at this table, before I even sit before you and before this audience, is I'm going to make sure I know where I stand on the subject. Now, that might change before the end of this hour. But I know where I stand. My feet are going to be firmly planted. So.
And we know men and women are wired different. We just
Absolutely.
think differently. And so.
Because men are dumb.
Yes. We are dumb, according to them. We don't have the balls to say women are dumb, so I would never say that.
Well, I would say that, though. I've heard men say that women are crazy, and I do feel like
crazy and dumb are two different things, though. I'll say
are.
that crazy.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yes.
I think that women are absolutely crazy, but I feel like we have a reason and a right to be.
I think what you had shared with me before about the whole spaghetti and waffles thing.
Yes.
I think that's the definition of crazy. Like,
yes.
You said women's minds are like spaghetti.
Absolutely.
And men's are like waffles. Like, we can compartmentalize while y'all's just a mess.
Shout out to Chanel for that.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I feel like she said she went to a conference or something like that, and that was introduced to her. But the waffles and spaghetti ideology is that if you think about a waffle, you think about the compartments. When you pour syrup in, there literally can be syrup on one side of the waffle and none on the other. You know what I mean? Because there are different little pockets that the syrup can go in. And women think like spaghetti, whereas everything is kind of like inner loop. Everything matters. You know what I mean? And that just makes so much sense to me, because I'm like, when we wake up, and ladies, let me know if y'all agree. When we wake up, we're thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, what happened yesterday, what's happening right now. And it's like all in the course of like the first 5 minutes that we wake up. And that's just how we think.
You know what's on my mind when I wake up?
What?
Let me brush my teeth and wash my face real quick.
See?
I
and
do
that
that
just happens. That's just automatic. That's in our subconscious mind. Like, we're going to wash our face. But...
Not mine. I actually say it. Like, I get up, like, all right, I'm going to wash my face, brush my teeth. Let me read my word real quick. And I'm literally not thinking about anything pertaining to life.
Wow.
It's just my routine when I get up. And then the first time I start thinking is literally when I hit the door and I do my walk and talk with God.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it just doesn't work that way with us.
I know.
Yeah. But
and that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Look, see?
Okay, so then those type of moments will happen a lot while we're here. And I just need y'all to know, like, I'm going to point it out, because it's not like I feel super embarrassed, but it's something to point out. The fact that we have on black shirts and like fatigue pants. I literally woke up and thought that was a good idea for me to wear it today, because it was a little chilly and da-da-da-da. But this man comes to my door and he literally has on the same exact
And I did not
situation.
know. I have not seen her before, and I work in construction, so I did not wear this to work. I just happened to throw it on after I got out the shower.
Yeah, so it's unplanned.
Yeah.
And, again, we thought y'all were going to be like, yeah, right, y'all planned it out or whatever, but it doesn't matter what y'all think. No, I'm just playing.
No,
y'all can think what y'all want to. Y'all can think what y'all want to do.
Yeah.
Think anyway. So it is what that is. So.
And she's copying my watch band.
Yeah. Well, we got to represent for the African Americans.
Yes. Yes.
So, I think that covers what we were saying as far as like the deep
welcome to Deep
skydiving.
Skydiving.
Yeah, here we are.
We don't have to explain. We're not going to explain this again. We're just going to go into it.
Yeah, we're just going to go into it. Our first topic, the way in which we're going to do it is we're going to just introduce different topics. It's going to kind of be a mixture of sorts of different things that we might have been introduced to in the world, things that our friends have introduced to us, things that we've just come out the dome with. And AJ is gonna actually pull out of a bag a different topic at the end of each episode that we'll cover for the next episode. Today, though, we've taken the liberty of picking the topic that we'll be talking about, and that is individualism in relationships. Can it exist?
And
with
our friends.
and What Are
Or
Friends.
are we not going to do that today?
No, we could do What Are Friends because I feel
All
like
right.
it makes sense.
All right.
You want to get started?
Yeah, let's do this. So, and I like because...
You know what? We need to go back
Why?
because we didn't talk about skydiving and our experience.
Our experience? All right, so let's do it.
Okay. So. Okay. So, no, I think we're laughing because it is. So it makes so much sense as to why skydiving is the reason why we chose this, this topic or whatever for our podcast, or the name for our podcast. In my experience, it was very monumental for me. I'd always wanted to go. I kept hearing people saying that they were going to go. And I was like, man, I think I could do that. Now, I wouldn't call myself a thrill seeker more than I would call myself somebody who likes to challenge themselves. I don't like anything to make me scared. I don't like to be fearful of things, especially not tangible things. Because if it's tangible, it's like, I should be able to get over it. So with skydiving, it was one of those things that I didn't hear a lot of people saying that they were doing. So I was like, I just want to try it. I've been up in an airplane. I've been on top of I'm not scared of heights.
Just
like
never
I don't
jump from one.
I have jumped from a high place, but never
You bungee jump?
free fall. No.
Oh.
And I'm not going to free.
So what do you mean you jump from a high place?
So
like it's in water?
There was this. It was called a giant slide. You literally had to climb up a post in order to get all the way up to the top. And you had on the the gear and everything, and you literally jumped down and swung like a pendulum. I did that before, and it's high. Like it was super high.
I got you. And you're like parallel to the ground, like, or you're like laying down in the air. Or...
No, Well, was I laying down? No. You're sitting. You're like in the little holster.
Oh, that's whack.
But it was high though. Anyway, the point is that I'm not really like a thrill seeker, but I just wanted to try it. So, as AJ said, when we went up in this like crop duster almost plane, I introduced myself to my instructor. My instructor was this white guy from... Was he from like Namibia or something like that? He was African.
They definitely weren't from here.
Right. He was African of some sort, and he was a really big guy. I want to say he was like a good 6'2", 6'3", long hair guy. And I was just basically like questioning him about it. Like, hey, how long you been doing this? I asked him, is it fun for him? Because I wanted to know. I want to know, are you doing it for money, or are you doing it because this is a
because
thrill?
you enjoy it? Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know what the answer was that I was looking for necessarily, but I feel like when he told me that it gets old, I felt better about it, because I felt like no longer was he like doing it for the thrill. Like he was now doing it for his paychecks. And I feel like when people are doing stuff for their livelihood, they take it more seriously. So anyway, that was my control.
I think differently. I feel like because you do it so much and you're doing it just for a paycheck, like you might get lackadaisical doing things. Like, so in our line of work, they say, we know that you guys are professionals, but sometimes you get too familiar with your job, and that's how people get hurt.
See?
So, yeah.
That's here we go. The yin and the yang. But yeah, so while I was going up, I was literally trying to figure out like, why was that something that I was doing? Were you asking yourself the same question?
No.
Oh, because when we were on our way up, I literally was like, why would I ever want to jump out of a plane? Like, why would this be something I want to do?
Nah, I told you. When we was on the way up, I could not wait to jump. I thought the
Really?
plane was going to fall apart. It was shaking too much.
Yeah,
I was like, I did not. The going up was the scariest part for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that it was scary more than it just allowed me too much time to think. Yeah. Like, I feel like when I do things like that, like I don't need a lot of time to think, because I'll take full advantage of being able to think, and I'll be like, oh no, maybe this isn't a good idea.
That's funny, because I know we both like live in our minds.
Yes.
But when I experience things like that, that may try to incite some fear or something, like my mind I don't think about it at all. My mind would just go blank in preparing for this moment.
Yeah.
And then because
compartmentalization.
Yeah. Because I can't think about it, because if I overthink about it, I'll think myself out of it. I'm like, hey, just go ahead, I'll go down with the plane. Don't.
Right. But then they tell us, I feel like they told us, guys, that we couldn't come back down with them. Isn't that something that they said?
I'm not trying to hear that. That plane got wheels.
Right, but obviously, yeah. I think that was just like a tactic for them to,
I was jumping anyway, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what's important about what I said about the instructor is these are all things that, in my mind, I'm thinking about. Like, I'm thinking about the fact that it's this man. He's a lot bigger than me. Like, a lot bigger than me. Like, I'm 5'4", guys. Like, I'm not tall at all. And he was going to be strapped to me. Right, because your instructor was kind of like a thin guy, though, right?
I can't remember.
Well, I remember, y'all. Like, this is important, and it's funny because it will play a part in relationships because that's also the kind of guys I like. Like the taller, like he was like.
You felt safe.
Thick. I did.
Yeah.
I felt safe, and I felt safe because of his stature. And I felt safe because of the fact that he had done it so much that now it was for his livelihood. Like, he had to get that money. So
he had to get that. Well, if he does not succeed, he's not worried about the money anyway.
That's true. But that's how I signed those papers too. Remember I told you that? I said, hey AJ, while we were writing on our paper, like signing our lives away, I was like, you know what's funny? I said, it doesn't even really matter if we sign these because if we die, we don't have to deal with it anyway.
Right.
And I think at that point, I was like, I'm really about to do this. I was like, okay, it's about to go down. So anyway, so we're on the way up. I think you were before me. You jumped before me. I was the very last person to jump, y'all. Like, I'm looking around like, I gotta go.
That
like,
sucks.
Everybody else went, you know?
That sucks to be the last one. I never want to be the last. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I'm like, AJ he's gone. Like, my friend's not even here no more. I'm stuck with this big old dude. But I was like, all right, bet. So I'm going to do this. And then it then came the surrender. Yeah. I surrendered when we were on the edge of the plane. And I was like, whatever happens is going to happen. And I think that made the way down so much better. And what I explained to all of my friends is that was the most peace that I've ever felt in my entire life.
Same here.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. It was like nobody could get to me. Like I was strapped to this like African white man, but I was strapped to this African white man, but I didn't feel oppressed. Like I didn't feel like he was, keeping me from doing anything. Like both of our bodies were free falling. Like he's recording me, but I'm like literally free, open air. And when you jump down, like it does feel like you're going really fast, but then they pull the parachute.
It didn't feel like we was going really fast.
No?
Of course, my face was like, but I wasn't sensing that I was falling fast. I don't know why. I think my mind I was just so much in awe. My mind took me out of it.
Yeah. And I think that that's important to make a note of too, because I feel like I was very present, to the point where like I was looking around, like when he pulled the parachute, which basically like, there was a jolt.
Yeah. Snatches you up.
Yeah, it snatched us up. He told you how to like sit back in the harness, and you can look at basically the world. Like you're looking at all of these different patches of land, like just God's beauty.
Did the birds fly by you? Because it was a bird like almost probably about 20 feet away from us.
Wow. Like, no, so I think that's the one thing that did not happen. Because everybody was like, you didn't see any birds. I didn't see any birds.
Definitely, because it came to my mind. I said, what if this bird like gets tangled up in his parachute or something because it was so close? And I was like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I didn't see any birds.
Oh.
It was literally just us up there. And then like he was like, telling me to smile. And I really I felt really good. I felt very free.
Yeah.
Like nothing, like I'm untouchable. And I made a note that said, that basically when I got to the ground, that's when the problems came back. And it's not like I'm carrying a bunch of problems. It's just that's when I realized who I am. Yeah.
So I'm gonna share my experience and I'm gonna go into what I'm gonna say about relationships, right? So as I said before, it was the going up that was the most nerve-wracking part for me. I wasn't scared, but I was just like, is this thing gonna make it to the 3,000 feet or 30,000 feet, wherever we was going? I'm like, is this thing going to make it? Like, and then it was like kind of more than a 45 degree. So I was like, man, this is I wasn't expecting this. I've been on several planes. I've never felt turbulence like this. And so I just couldn't wait till we got up to jump. And so they sit you on the edge of the plane, and then you kind of like scooch out. We kind of just scooched out. And when we went out, we kind of like went down head first, and it gave me that little roller coaster feeling. And then when we leveled out, it was just like peace. Same thing you were saying. And for me, it was a moment where I was like the most helpless ever in my life, but it wasn't a scary moment. It was just like, all right, either God got me or I'm toast.
That's it.
And it's nothing but just complete surrender. And then the parachuting was, when we was floating, I think that was more nerve-wracking than the free falling, because we're so high up and it's just going so slow, and I'm just like, I just want to get to the ground. Like this. I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, it's safer down there. I feel so much can go wrong with this parachute like this. But when I was looking at it in comparison to relationships, like the most exciting moment was like at the edge of the plane. It's like the beginning of it all, and it's like when you jump out, right? And it's like the most exciting moment, and you know you're happy, and you just like, I'm loving this experience. It's like the beginning of a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And then the parachute deploys, and then now it's like you're just coasting.
Yeah.
And then once you get back to the ground, it's back to, I don't want to say mundane life or anything, but it's just like everything's back to normal. Or it's kind of like, what's the next big thing? How are we going to bring more excitement back into this relationship? And it was making me think the same as friendships and romantic relationships or whatever. Like, you know how they say you got to keep dating your spouse, or you got to keep dating your girlfriend to. That's what it made me think about. Like, the excitement was right here in the beginning. Everybody's excited when they get into a new relationship, unless you're just like getting into it for no reason. You're like, yeah, I guess I got a girlfriend now. Yeah. But I don't know too many guys like that. But you're always excited, and then you get into that we're floating stage, and then you get on the ground, and where there's no excitement, arguments can ensue, and now it's just like, what are we even doing? Right. But you got to keep doing something to bring that excitement back, to make it interesting, to make it.
Which I'm happy you said, because I don't know if you remember this, but you were the one that said, "Uh-oh, I kind of want to do that again." Yeah. Do you remember that? Yes. Yes. So in a nutshell, you wanted to go through that all over again. And I was thinking about it too, but I wasn't thinking about it as much as you were. For me, it was like, right, you did say that. You said that later. You didn't say it that day. That day you wanted to go back, like with the man, everything, like just let's do it again. Yeah. Because it did happen like in an instant. Yes. It was like it happened so fast. But it's so interesting that you said that in regards to relationships, because how many times do we need to revive? We need to do the revivals. Like I tell my friends all the time, like, we have revivals in church, you know what I mean? But we don't do it in our relationships. And I think that that's important, because you have to then, you know, get that spark back. You have to, and it's, maybe it'll never be like it was, right? Maybe you'll never have the same feeling that you did when you were on the edge of the plane. But let's try and see if we can, you know, create some new memories. How do we
keep the life in our relationship?
I think that, in my opinion, I think we explore different topics. That's one thing I think we do. There's nothing that's really out of bounds to talk about, because I feel like we know that there's a way to grow in every section of life.
That's what I was thinking, because we're constantly we're constantly growing, constantly evolving, constantly coming into new revelations, and then we're always sharing with each other. And I think the beautiful thing is we never judge each other. Right. Regardless of what the situation may be, regardless of how we're feeling, we're able to be transparent and trust each other. Like we have a safe space that some people don't even have with friends that are of the same sex. Exactly. And so I think that's what, it's not like an event that we do. It's not something that we experience that keeps the relationship alive and going, but it's just that we're able to continually be genuine and continue to grow with each other. And I think that's, for a friendship, like of opposite sexes, I think that sounds weird to people who are not us.
It does.
Like, I don't even know if how I've just said that if I could make it sound like a friendship, like them niggas ain't friends.
Right.
But
right.
that's what it is. And
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that actually leads into the topic of individualism in relationship, because what allows us to have a friendship that works is that we maintain our individualism. But the key part in our individualism is the fact that we aren't looking to just judge the other person.
Yeah.
So when you do bring something to me, I can sort through the stuff that's mine and get to what is that you're trying to tell me.
Let's get to the individualism, right? But
Okay.
let's go back and work our way to individualism, right?
Okay.
So I want you to, let's both share who we are and where we came from, like our background, so they can see how different we are. And yeah.
So I come from a small town, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And
Is that where Samuel Jackson is from?
Usher.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where Samuel Jackson
I know he's from Tennessee.
Maybe
I want to say
he is from Chattanooga. My dad
Yeah.
said that I met him before. I think
You probably
there was a
did.
lot of people who they said I met when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But, does it really matter if you don't remember it?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like my dad did tell me that we like met Samuel L. Jackson or like something like that. But anyway, small town girl. Mom and dad were married. They had us. My mom and my dad went to college together. So my mom is from Chicago. My dad is from Chattanooga. They married. They had myself, and then they had my sister 2 years later. So I definitely came from a 2-parent household. Both of my parents worked. My mom is very strict on like education. She was a jeweler at one point, or she did create jewelry, or worked with jewelers at one point. She has a science background though. So what she wanted to do was she wanted to have summers off with us, and so she became a teacher.
Smart.
Yes. Which is, thank you, moms, for your sacrifice.
Yeah.
And definitely from my mom, because she's an amazing foundation. But
Yes.
especially my
mom,
dad
too.
too. My dad, sometimes you just need that male presence too.
Yeah.
That security is a big thing for us as women. But having both of them, they unfortunately divorced when I was 14, and we moved to Chicago. So I had my mom and my sister, and then we moved in with my grandfather. So it's important to note that there was another man in the house. So there was still that security there.
Yeah.
Went to private schools. When we were in Chattanooga, I went to multicultural school. So it was like a bunch of different races.
Yeah.
Then I went to a
So it
black
wasn't like-
private school.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, the private
How
school
was that? A black private school?
So
I don't know if we have those here.
So how ignorant I am. And I don't know, if you guys have had this experience, but the school's name is Providence St. Mel. Shout out to the Knights of Providence St. Mel on the west side of Chicago. But
West Side.
West Side. But I went there and I literally was like, wait a minute, mommy. I said, all black people go here?
There's blacks.
I didn't know. I really didn't know that, like.
Am I in the right place?
Right, because you know how you grow up in a
multicultural,
space,
yeah,
and then you've gone to the school, and then your latest memory, your earliest memory, is of like a bunch of people.
Was it like a culture shock for you because you wasn't used to?
It was. I literally was walking down the hall, and I was like, "Wait a minute! So there are only black people that go here? Like
You had
this
a
is what you're
culture
telling
shock
me?"
in your own culture.
Yes. And I am, listen, y'all, one thing about me, I'm going to keep it a buck. Like, I'm not even going to hold you. Like, this is literally my thought. And so I was like, so everybody's smart here. And not that black people can't be smart, but I was just like, yo, like, everybody here has to be smart. Like, this is a private school. I had to take a test to get in.
That is beautiful thinking.
I
like that, yeah.
And I'll tell you this, and this is not, I'm not trying to get off the subject, but your life changes when you are represented, and your like when you feel represented, when you are represented, when you see people who look like you, who are competitive, who are smart, who are striving for new things. Like, it does create a whole other like realm of personality, a whole level of confidence that you never knew you had. Because when I was in that multicultural school, and it's not to say you know, because my parents weren't going through whatever they were going through, I wasn't experiencing whatever that came with. And that's why my grades suffered and things like that. I was never a bad student. But when I got to that black school and was listen, straight A's out the break, you know what I mean? I think the lowest my GPA ever got was like a 3.5 or something like that. I was about to say that too. Like it was never.
I had 1B. My lowest GPA was with 1B.
Really?
You know, 8. And I'm talking about you. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no.
Like, I was so depressed.
But that's how my mom raised us. My mom was literally like, we had, my cousin, she teases me to this day because we used to take standardized tests like as a recreation. Like my mom would just, to find out what level our reading was on. Like she used to just be like, take this test now. And we would literally take a test. So I have no test anxiety or anything. Like when somebody puts a test in front of me, I'm able to no test anxiety because I just used to take them.
That's funny because I don't have test anxiety either, but I don't know why.
You just really don't.
I just good at taking tests. But I feel like
you have like this like very cavalier.
Confident.
Yeah, like I'm just going to take it. You probably get good bomb
I don't know.
Results.
I just always been smart. Like I was like a genius kid. Like I was supposed to be skipped in the 2nd grade, but my father didn't want me skipped. And so I don't know how, but I'm just not scared of tests. Like I'm just.
But do you think people should like skip their kids when they are that and they're brilliant?
I kind of got a bias towards it because I wish that they did, but only because I feel like if they did, then what would have happened later in life wouldn't have happened. And I'll share that when I go.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I'll keep this story very short. So of course, you know, Chicago, went to my school. I had my grandfather there. My mom and my stepfather, they got together when I was a junior in high school. It's important to note that my stepfather also went to the same college as my mother and father. Long story. But
I let them tell that one.
I always wanted to go to Howard since I was in 2nd grade. I ended up getting into Howard, but
hold up, you knew about Howard in the 2nd grade?
Yes. Did you watch the Cosby Show? He used to wear the Howard sweatshirt.
When I was in the 2nd grade, I didn't know anything about college. I didn't know what I was looking at on the Cosby Show.
Well, I don't know. So people tell me that I do have like an old soul. So maybe it was the case when I was in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
But I literally used to watch, because that was the 90s. The 90s, Howard University in the 90s looked lit. Like, I don't know what it was about, but it looked like it was everything.
So I'm from D.C. and I didn't, no, literally. I'm from D.C. I was born in Northwest. In my younger years, all the way up to when my father died, I used to stay in D.C. a lot where my grandmother lived on New Hampshire Avenue, which is probably like 2 miles, if not, if that, from Howard University.
And you just never.
And I did not know anything about Howard University until like I graduated high school.
Wow. But you know, again,
like even like during homecomings, like Howard homecoming, we would go down there, and I still didn't know anything about Howard. I just know like it'd be a lot of girls out there.
Right. Yeah. So then they'll be able to see the dynamic of our backgrounds too, because again, academia was very big in our family. You know, dating back from, you know, as far as I know, my mom's side, you know, they were educators. Yeah. I think like my great grandfather like wrote a book, you know, about, I think it was actually about women. I'm gonna look that up, but I think it was actually about women and just like taking on your crown, which is funny. We have the queen shirt on. Boom, boom.
We or you? You have the queen.
We is me.
Oh, okay, all right, got you.
No, but no. So that's why Howard University was like something I strive for. And again, while I was shocked at the private institution that I went to for my high school, I was in 2nd grade when I found out that there was this black school called Howard University. I would see so it was just a bunch of like, I guess the marketing or whatever of it. I would see it on Bill Cosby wearing his sweatshirts or whatever with Howard on it. I saw it on Martin. Martin used to wear Howard sweatshirts. And I'm like, there has to be something special about this place. So I would look it up and all this other stuff. I'm like, yo, it looks so dope. Everybody looks like they're having fun. I would hear about their homecomings. I want to go there. So I literally went and saw the school in my 11th grade year. And that's where my mom and my stepdad hooked up. They ended up getting married when I became a senior. They weren't together very long before they got married. They got married. I ended up going to Howard. And then I graduated. It wasn't that easy. I ain't gonna hold y'all. But I became a barber too.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school to become a dentist.
And you graduated and became a barber.
Yes, because first of all, that was God. That was really God, because I just knew that I wanted to be a dentist. I think I knew I wanted to be a dentist from 4th grade. Yes, I think.
Was that because you wanted to be a dentist, or because somebody?
Because
else
I wanted to be a dentist. We had this boy named Taylor. This white guy named Taylor. His dad came. His dad was a dentist. He came to our school and he did a presentation, and I like locked in.
And you were just infatuated ever since.
Yeah, and I did love it because I went to the University of Michigan. They had 2 programs that I went to, so I went there. Shout out to University of Michigan. But the program was very nice. I just couldn't in my head work out that amount of years in school.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. And then I realized that I work well with my hands and I'm creative.
I know the feeling.
Right.
I know the feeling.
Right. So, your turn, buddy. Tell us about your life.
I was born in Northwest D.C. I grew up in Northwest D.C. in Bladensburg, Maryland, and my father passed away when I was 8 years old. Mm. And so I don't really have too many memories of my dad. Probably got like 1 or 2 memories of my dad. After that, no male figures in my life. Wow. I had several uncles, but they all live like where my mother's from, which is Westmoreland County, Virginia, like Colonial Beach, Virginia. And so really, me, my older brother, my older brother was 9 years older than me, so it was just me, him, and my mom. And him being so much older than me, we never had that close relationship because he was out in the streets while I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, Northwest, right between 7 Taylor and 640, that's the hood. And then Bladensburg, it doesn't sound like the hood, but that was the hood back then. It's not now, but back then it was the hood. So I came up around a lot of drugs and a lot of violence. And because my father died so young, I think that had
How old was your dad when he died?
My dad, I think he died in 1996. He was born in 54. So I think he was 42? 41, 42.
I'm not a math major.
I'm great at math. So,
I'm 42. Say, you have to know it.
Yeah. So he's about 42. And I was 8. And I would have been 9 that November. But
8's my favorite number.
It is. 33 is mine. But
wow.
When my father passed, I think I know that's the point where I became like a very angry kid. Mm-hmm. And so, and it's strange because I'm seeing that in this other little boy. He's like 6, and without his dad and his mom in his life, he's very angry. I need to pour more into him. Yeah. I need to be intentional about that. But I was an angry kid, but I had, friends, had some friends. After my father died is when I really started staying around Bladensburg, and I met some guys around there probably when I was about 10. Mm-hmm. And then through them, I met other guys that I hang with, and all of us are still cool, still friends today. Mm-hmm. But my high school experiences, I first got introduced to violence in middle school. Mm. So it was this gang called EP, the Spanish gang. Ended up fighting a couple of my homies that was older than me, that was like a grade or 2 older than me, and that's like the first time I seen a group fight. So I was like, I was kind of excited by it. It was like kind of like it was kind of like dang, what's happening? Like a little fear that turned like into excitement. And ever since my father died, I've been fighting because if you say something about my dad, I was just gonna steal you. Right. And so that's how.
When did you start that though? Like, was it immediately?
Immediately.
After? Okay.
Immediately. Like after my father, that's why I said I was angry. So immediately after, like, you ain't even have to add nothing to it. You could just be like, your father, and I'm gonna hit you.
Right. Okay.
I'm going across the jaw. And so that's how that happened. But going into high school, that's when it really got real. Mm-hmm. So going into high school, I think like the first week of high school, I watched some of my homies from another neighborhood whoop on some jokers from a neighborhood that we didn't mess with. I'm not gonna say the names of the neighborhoods, but that's when it got real. And so in high school, we was fighting in high school, and then it was like shootouts afterwards and on the weekends and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it was real messy. It was real violent. And the crazy thing is, if you ask other people about their high school experience in that same school, it would be completely different. Like it'll probably be like a regular high school experience, but the ones that was in the neighborhoods that was like in the streets, it was too real. It was dangerous.
It's giving juice. It's giving menace to society.
It's a lot of things I can't even say, and you wouldn't even think it. But my older brothers, like they would tell you. So I ain't gonna say their names, but they are from that area also, and it was even more realer for them.
I'm sure.
So
because they were like the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's like
when crack really,
and,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So one of my older brothers been selling coke since he was 12. So yeah, he was 12 when I was born.
Oh, okay.
So, right. And that's when and so that's just how that was. And my 12th grade year, I ended up getting kicked out of school because the principal held something against me because of one of my older brothers tried to kill him back when he was in school. And so when he found out who I was and my family association, he held something against me. My 12th grade year, I get in a fight with a guy that didn't even go to my school, and I get expelled.
Wow.
And so I'm not the type of dude that, I'm not dropping out of high school. Like, I'm gonna get my diploma, if anything. Right. So I had to repeat my 12th grade year. And when you ask me, do I think that kids should be skipped? I always felt like if my father would allow me to be skipped, I would have graduated in 2004. But instead, I got kicked out and ended up graduating in 2006. And my graduation class is supposed to be 2005.
Got it.
So,
yeah.
And so, but I was supposed to go to DeMatha High School. My mother wanted me to go to DeMatha. And so to get in DeMatha, I had to do this summer program, and I got kicked out. And so that's why that didn't happen.
Got you.
And it was a private school, but it's not a black one. And it's all boys, so I definitely didn't want to go there anyway.
See, I get my schools mixed up sometimes from the DMV.
Yeah, DeMatha is the one over there in high school, but over there in Highsville.
Yeah.
But I want y'all to see. The point of this is you see how very different
apples and oranges.
Our upbringing, and you like how did they become like so close of friends?
God. So I should mention then, since we just talked about individually how we've come up, how we then met, because we met because of God.
Yes.
We were, I was newly in Christ. I can't even remember honestly what year. I think it was 2007-ish when I got saved, and I was kind of like newly in Christ, and I was working at Johnson Middle School. It doesn't even exist anymore, but I was working at Johnson Middle School, and I met Mo and Anwar. I just want to say their names because I feel like I was on fire for Christ. And when you first get saved, you just be wanting to like everybody like need to know like I'm saved. Yeah. You just walk up to somebody like, I'm going saved to heaven. Yeah. Are you going to heaven? Like like you gotta pull everybody up like hey, what's up? Jesus? Do you? Oh, okay. All right. So it was kind of like that. And I think that I was just, just with the kids, we were doing like a summer enrichment program, and I just met them because they were doing kind of like the same thing. They were working there, and we were in the gym, and Anwar, I think, was the one who kind of like just started talking to me, just very warm. Yeah. And he was like, you should come out to Bible study. And I was like, okay, bet, because at this point, I know about Jesus.
You was excited to go.
Yeah, it's like I need to let y'all know what I know.
So let them know your background in regards to religion.
Right. Okay. My background in regards to religion, I was actually raised Muslim and my mom, she's even going to see this, and she has her own, spiritual journey, but we still battle when it comes to Jesus and just, my beliefs. But I was definitely raised Muslim. So we used to do everything. We used to do prayer 5 times a day, or 4 for real, because obviously, there were times where I was literally asleep. So that first prayer at sunrise, sometimes we would catch it, sometimes we would miss it. Yeah.
And things like Ramadan.
We did Ramadan very young. Yeah. So I would literally go days while I was in school without eating anything. But, being able to break my fast at the end of the day, no gum, no nothing, like literally just had to go through my day without eating. Yeah. So there was that level of discipline that I had even, young, that I was learning while I was young. But yeah, my dad is a PK, a preacher's kid. my grandfather was a pastor, and he died fairly young, like your father.
Yeah.
But my dad was grown though when he lost his dad.
Yeah.
So I think my dad was in his 20s when my grandfather passed away. But it was a different dynamic. And who's to say, at that time when I was growing up, why my father was not going to church, but he wasn't. So I literally, while we were going to the mosque, I would say that I wasn't churched when I was growing up. Like we would go to the mosque every Sunday for the most part. But I still feel like even with my mom, it's important to say that she doesn't subscribe to the religiosity of it. So while there are a lot of things that you do in Islam that are traditions,
Right.
I feel like my mom still was able to keep us on that spiritual level. So even committing to, saying the prayers and things like that, if we were to miss it, it didn't seem like it was like the worst thing that you could ever do.
Yeah.
She was not, strict like that. Like even when I went off to college, she was like, she would always remind me like, so are you saying your prayers and things like that?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you need to say your prayers or I'm not going to talk to you or da da da. Like it never was sort of like a dictatorship. So that's important to know that I was raised Muslim. We used to, wear our scarves. We, did Ramadan, Eid. I had visited a lot of different, mosques or masjids throughout the nation. As my mom and I would, we would travel. So we had gone to, obviously ones in Chicago. We went to ones in New York before. Just different places. So
even as a child, as a youngin', you was traveling.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing my mom...
I never left the DMV.
Really?
I mean, I have now.
Right, obviously, but when you were younger. So when was the first time that you had actually left the DMV?
I lied. After my father died, that next year, summertime, right before school, we had went to Disney World. But I think that was the only time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's still, travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, so... I just even, my chest got a little tense even when you asked me about that, because to this day, like, it's not, a shame or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just in remembering how I was raised. My mom and my dad were like on two different sides of the spectrum. And
we're going to hit on that too, about that foundation in regards to the relationship. We already hit a little bit on it, but we're going to go into that too.
Yeah, because you see it, and it's something, it does become a part of you. But my mom, again, just, that strong person, just that strong personality. She's always been that way. She had us going to the mosque. She had us doing everything. But when we came to Chicago, our lives weren't as structured as it was when we were younger. And mind you, we're becoming women at this point. So my sister was 12 and I was 14. So you also are dealing with two teenage girls. Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all. You're also dealing with two teenage girls who are trying to find out who they are. We weren't praying together. We would pray together. We would have our rugs. We would all have our prayer rugs, and we would pray together. That ceased when we went to Chicago.
When's the last time you prayed with your sister?
Oh, whenever I'm with her, we pray together. Yeah. But the last time that we were on a prayer rug was when we lived in Chattanooga, and we left in 1997, 98. Yeah. So
about 25 years ago.
Yeah. So you talking a whole culture shock. Like I stopped eating meat when we left when we left my father. Essentially that's what happened. Like I don't want to sugarcoat it. Yeah, life changed. So anyway, so that happened. And then I came to Christ when I was in college. I was going through a very deep, dark time, and the only thing I could do was look up, and that's what I did.
So who introduced you to him?
Really, essentially my grandfather.
All right.
Because that's when to me, I feel like he was the personification of who God was. Like if God was to be like a human being, it would be my granddad. Your
representation of God in your life was your granddad.
And I didn't even realize how much he influenced me. Obviously, like I met him, I met him at 14, but I met him at 14. Like I knew him the whole time because we would come every
But
every
it just
year.
got more intimate. It got more.
Yes,
Yeah,
and so you gotta know. I'm getting to know myself and him at the same time. You know, these are when these real memories are starting to form.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going through new relationships. I'm in a new place. Like the slate was like clean, and then there was my grandfather. And what my grandfather would do is he would sit us at the kitchen table and he would talk to my sister and I about God, about men, about family. And he would say, those are the most important. He told us that one day, you know, we're going to be somebody's wife and that we need to make sure that we pick the right men.
Pick the right men or allow the right man to pick you.
See, that's where you're wrong. And that's
okay,
why we're
so
here.
We're going to hit that. Write that down.
Yes, because.
Who chooses who?
Who chooses who?
All
right. Because my grandfather.
We might hit that one next episode.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because my grandfather was saying, you know, of course there are going to be men who come after you,
yeah.
but you ultimately make the decision on who you allow to protect you, who you allow to make those decisions for you. Anyway, so that's what we were as far as, you know, being introduced to Christ. Yeah. We would go to church and everything like that. I had a aunt who was very religious. We call her Aunt Cheche. Her name was Dolores. She passed away. Rest in peace, Auntie. Mm-hmm. But I would go to church, you know, and even my friend group that I was introduced to at Howard, they would take me. We would go to church.
Yeah.
And I was real rebellious about it. I'm talking about me and Chanel, my cousin Chanel. We would go smack at each other because she was trying to like convince me about the Bible and all this other stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, but I believe in Allah and, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. And I was just going back at her, you know, with all that I could. And I remember when I was in church and I was like, no. Like, you know, I don't have.
That's not it.
Yeah, the grace is right here.
Yeah.
And that's literally what made me commit to who Christ is.
So how did it go when you had to tell Chanel, like, dang, you was right?
I don't think I ever
I'm
did.
on your side now.
That's what's so funny. I don't know. I don't think we ever had that meeting of the minds where I was like, you know, you were right. I mean, we talk about it now, obviously, but I don't feel like there was any hallmark time because I think that Chanel had gone on with her life. Like, I think she had went to, I think by that time she went to theology school.
All right, so let's go back. You met Anwarmo.
Yeah, I met Anwarmo. And they were like, come to Bible study. So I'm like I said, I was pressed to like, show them what I know. Yeah. First of all, when I got there, it was like 5 niggas at the table. And I was like the only girl, like, you know.
But this is Bible study.
Yeah, this is Bible study.
A legit Bible study. Guys with hearts for God.
It was at Anwar's house. Yeah. And it was outside. I remember it like it was like clear as day. We're at a table and we talking about like some thorough looking dudes. Like we're not talking about, you know, clean cut, you know, Bible
all of them out of the streets.
Like all of them was like street
all of them
dudes.
had their time in the streets.
Yeah. Yes. And I think I like that though.
Because it lets you know it was real. Just lets you know, yeah.
And then there was a boldness in me too because I was with them and I was like, y'all not finna act like I'm like this princess and y'all gotta like, you know what I'm saying?
And
like,
they wasn't even treating you like that though.
They never treated me like that. Yeah. They never did. They were always like, you know, a little something, shorty, you know, like they always kind of like gave me my props, like, you know, like, you know, keep coming back. So I did. And that's how I met him. And the reason, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Nah, finish it.
Well, I was just saying the reason why we didn't, you know, click right off is because you were, to me, you seemed like you were just a lot younger. Mm-hmm. And to me, you seemed like you were still like one foot in the streets and one in Bible study.
Yeah.
And
so it wasn't even 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was still, so I was actually in a dark place at that time also. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, because that was 2009, 2008, I had caught a gun charge for a shooting in Waldorf. And shortly after that, my peoples had got killed in my neighborhood. And so it was a whole, without going into details, you know, it was a whole lot of stuff going on behind that. And my case ended up getting dropped by the grace of God. And situation happened around the neighborhood where, you know, just don't want to let things go. Mm-hmm. And so around that time, because this happened in April 2008, And then certain people had got locked up, but they ended up getting out. And so no need to say what type of time I was on at that time. But I was walking I haven't seen Anwar in years at this time, right? And so, and always been close to the family. That's why he's like big brother. And my brother almost look just alike. And so he's like a big brother.
They do look
so he's been around. He's been around since I was born. So I'm walking to the carryout. My brother, the one between me and Anwar, was locked up at this time. And he was telling him, man, look out for AJ, man. Keep an eye on you, look out for AJ. And so I'm walking to the carryout, and then I hear somebody say, AJ. And I'm like, what the hell? All this is around the same time and so he's like, man, come out to Bible study with me. And I was just like, all right. Now, I already had, I don't want to say, I wasn't walking with Christ, but I already believed in God. Like, I already believed in Yeshua. I just wasn't walking it. And I just wasn't doing church. I wasn't for none of that.
Right.
Because when I was a child in the daycare my mama had me in, it was just Jesus out.
Right.
It was Jesus.
And you have to know his mom to know why that makes all the sense.
Yeah. But it was Jesus out because my mother was just trying to do what was best. She was trying to give me a foundation and everything. She was just doing what she thought was best. Right. And they had us in freaking Jesus plays, Christmas plays, Easter plays, all that. Vacation Bible school, or however you say it, all that in the summertime. And after my father died and everything, I was just like, man, there's enough of this crap.
Right.
And we used to go to church. We used to go to Nazareth. Is it Nazareth? Nazareth Baptist Church in Northwest off of 7th Street. That's a church my grandmother went to. That's a church my mother went to and everything. And I think I probably was like 11 years old. I was probably like 10, 11 years old. And I was like, man, I'm not going. So I'm not going to church. I'm dead serious because I think the last time I had went, I saw the deacon when two of the ministers were arguing in the middle of the sermon. The minister that was giving the sermon was arguing with a minister off the side while he's in the middle of a sermon. I'm just like, what the hell kind of church shenanigans is this, man? And I was like, all this stuff is just fugazi. And so I kind of quit all that. And I just quit all that. I didn't want to have nothing to do with any of that. And when I called my case, I wasn't even like, God, can you get me out of this? It was just, what happened. And I gotta pay my consequences. I gotta face the consequences of my actions. Whether I did it or not, I was there. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And so after that, Anwar hit me up, like, come to Bible study with me. And then it was just history from there. I was like, all right. Because I felt I was at a place where I was like, I ain't got nothing else to lose. I was already kind of checked out to where what's gonna happen is just gonna happen. And so he was like, man, come to Bible study. It just happened from there. Yeah. And then that's where I met you. Yep. And like I said, I wasn't 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They're the ones who actually helped me get 1 foot back in. Right. And then I think either late 2009 or early 2010 sometime is when I like rededicated my life to Christ and then started taking that serious. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time too because they were like literally, so that first time that I went, it was, I want to say, it was like 5 of us, but that's not including me. So I guess it was six of us all together because it was a very small table that we were sitting at. And mind you, I know everybody is not coming to Bible study every single week. Yeah. But at that time, I just saw that, there were these really strong, powerful men that were sitting at this table. But it was like every time I would come, it would be more and more people. And I just loved like how, just the flavor changed, but it just became much better. And you know what I mean? Like there were so many different faces. I feel like I created a bond with everybody who was there. It was just very organic. But you just have like a genuine spirit. Like you're just like a genuine person. You're easy to get along with. But I feel like that's something that you can say now. But remember when we started doing this, when I was a babe in Christ, and then also I was dealing with some stuff. I was still living you know what I mean? Like I was still living with my parents and things like that. Like still trying to find out who I was. And it's not to say that I've ever been hard to get along with. Like I've never really been that. But I think that it's only recently that I've noticed that I am, that type of person where like I really do get along with. I was hard to get along with. Right. And so that's why I'm saying, like, am I that easy to get along with? Because I still feel like we didn't connect right off Bucks. Like, you were there. I don't even think there was an effort to, though. It wasn't. Yeah. I was okay with that, and you were okay with that. I'm glad we did it. I cut your hair off. Remember, I cut your hair. Like, it was just like... That was 2012. And understood. Right.
But it was like an understood thing. Like, I knew who you were. Like, we had each other's numbers. Like, you know, but we just didn't talk. I saw you in Bible study, but it was a family. So you knew that when you cut your locks off, you knew that you wanted me to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of it. Yeah. I knew the friends that you had. I wouldn't say that I knew who you were dating.
I don't even know why it was you that I wanted to cut my hair off. I can't think of why I had that.
I think it was a family thing. Oh. I think that there's a loyalty that we had for each other. Like, we were just kind of like, because even when I messed up Phil and Anwar. So I messed up Phil and Anwar because I was new.
He always be saying that too, like I had to be the test dummy.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And Anwar has a really like, you know, red brown, ashy brown hair, and it's like really nice. And he had the waves. Oh my gosh. And I just took them clippers and I just wow. And I had to go down.
He had to
further.
be the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. They call it Phil like a naked mole rat for like years after that. But it was the loyalty. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of things that a woman can learn from a man about loyalty, because you guys are very, very loyal. See, we would just go to a different stylist if we have to, because we need our hair done. But if y'all would just grow your hair out if your barber's not available, or if he gets arrested, like you're taking a while to find your new barber. See, that's something that I had to grow into because I had never done barbering before. So I didn't even realize how loyal men can be, and almost to a fault. Yeah. Almost to a fault. So I think that's the reason why you selected me to be your barber. But even then, we were not having conversation.
No, we wasn't.
You made an appointment to cut your hair. You cut your hair. Yeah. It was great, guys. You should see his picture. I'm going to show a before and after one of these days. But he had a million locks like this.
You still got it?
Yes. Oh. I think I sent it to you.
You did. It was a while ago, though.
I'm pretty sure we can find it. But
I don't still have it, though. But yeah.
I have it. He looks so young. But it's so cute. Like, it's just a little tiny face. Just... Anyway, I like AJ with a haircut.
They're going to look now. They're going to be like, ew, what's wrong with him?
But no, y'all are going to see how these locks are going to grow, and they're going to be beautiful. But
yes,
that was the first time that you cut your hair, because you've cut your hair several times since I've known you.
Yes.
And that's another thing that we'll talk about at some point in this podcast, how AJ and his hair have a thing. His spirituality, too, and his hair are connected. But we became close just after I had this really toxic relationship, and then you also were going through a very toxic relationship. But it was funny because I think mine happened first. You were not aware of everything was happening in it, but we were talking, and I just noticed that one day it was like the conversation just kept going. Yeah. And then I would tell my business partner Kim that I would just think about you randomly. And so I would just hit you up like, hey, what's going on? Yeah. And when I hit up AJ, y'all, it was like the floodgates just started open. And I think I understand why now, because that's not something that everybody afforded you the opportunity to do. Yeah. So with me, I'm a listener. Like, I like to listen. Like, I'll be talking a lot on here, but my friends know, like, you can call me and talk about everything that you need to talk about. And with AJ, it started off as text messaging,
you
right?
You start getting a whole lot of calls.
I don't know about that. Don't call me, y'all. Don't call me. It's like, nah. But no, AJ was giving me, remember you would write like full like novels and via text. And it was okay because I mean at that time that's what we were.
But it was okay.
But it was long paragraphs, and it was like you were almost getting out. And I just remember praying for you because I knew you had this sort of spiritual warfare happening.
People don't do that often.
But pray?
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that you was doing that.
Yes, because I was scared. You were in a very dark place.
I know.
Like, it was really, really dark. And it came through in your text message. I was like, it was almost like you didn't care. Yeah, and so with that, I was like, I don't want nothing to happen to you. Oh. You know what I mean? Like, we were really like, to me, I feel like the family had already started. Like, whether it was us who was upholding it. But you at that time, it was like, I'm just praying for my little brother. Like, I just want him to be okay, because right now it seems like he is in such a dark place that he's going to take not only himself out, but he's going to take out somebody else. And so that's why I was so concerned. And so I just started praying.
You said that backwards. You mean he's not only is he going to take somebody else out, but he might take himself out. Yeah. I like the way that sounds better. It makes me sound like more important to you. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, but I think, but even that though, if you were to cause yourself harm, to me, I guess my logic at that point was, it would probably be worse in God's eyes for you to harm somebody else though.
Probably.
Does it make sense? Like you taking somebody else out would be like the worst.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of like my logic. But I get what you're saying. But yeah, that's how we became close, guys. Like we literally after that, I just would keep up with him.
Like trauma
I
bond.
wanted to. Yeah, we both.
I don't know if it was trauma bond though.
I don't think so either because he did not know about my situation. I'm telling y'all, if he had known, it would not have gone down. I would not have had that situation. We'll talk about that another time too because I also feel like in talking about the thing that has happened to me or the things that have happened to me and the things that have happened to you, then we'll be able to kind of like, speak to a broader audience as well because, I don't want to hold on to it because I know it happened for a reason for me to help, someone else out.
Right.
So we'll share those things that were happening, but I can't say that it was trauma bonding because I went through my situation first. And as I said, if AJ knew, it would have been a whole other situation.
Yeah.
So, but when I found out about his situation, I think it was even at the butt of that. I think you were still harboring.
You didn't want to kill her?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew that situation for me, the way I handle those type of things is I try to get the person to look at themselves, not
it wasn't her. It wasn't her anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still love.
But it was still at the end though that I caught that. Yeah. Because you were just still angry about what happened. Remember that the situation happened. Yeah, that physical part happened. And that's the part that you hit me up about. So guys, like basically all we're saying is like we just became closer and closer and closer based off of the fact that we were bonded in family from who Christ is, right? Who God is, just seeking who God is. And then we realized that we had a lot of things in common, but not like we can think ourselves into something and think our way out of something. We found that out that we have that in common. We are less susceptible to taking everything that somebody else says personally. We found out we have that in common. We also are doers of love. And I found that out later because I didn't even realize that you were like that. I am one of those people who I do love. I feel like love is an action.
Yeah.
So I do love, but 100%. I found that out by participating in a friendship with you. Like if I need you, you're there. Period. Like I don't have to tell you how long I've been there. I don't have to tell you where I'm at. Like you literally you'll be like, all right, I'm on my way. Yeah. But I've seen how you are with other people. So I know it's not specific to me.
Right.
And that's one thing I think that when it comes to relationships, so we've been at least
don't try to use me. Don't take what she's saying and like, oh yeah AJ like that. Nah,
that's
nigga, I ain't sweet.
Do. Yeah, please don't. He's not sweet at all. But I think we have experienced and been through. I've been with 3 people since I think 3 people since we've been cool. And then I think you've been in 2 relationships.
Yes. So
the reason why it's so hard for us to explain is because I think that we were still trying to figure it out ourselves.
Right.
Because it just is very organic. And of course you have people in your ear, you try to explain it to people are looking, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. AJ and we've never slept together. Like, not that that's something that you guys, have to know, but we've never slept together. We're not like, we never like kissed or anything like that. Like we literally have a healthy friendship, and most people cannot for the life of them understand it. They're like, you're cute, he's cute. What's the problem? Yeah. Remember my client was like, ooh. And I was like, girl, slow down. She was like, he looked like, the little short, dark-skinned chocolate.
Oh, Skeletor.
And she was like, I see, the skeleton.
Skeletor?
Yeah. Oh. And she was like, I think I know him from somewhere. I'm like, girl, you do not know him. Yeah, but anyway, I remember. Most people are like, you're cute, he's cute. Like, why aren't y'all, together? Like, why aren't y'all making this happen? Y'all are just getting, older. Y'all have this bond, all this other stuff. And, I think that it's important, though, that people understand that the reason why it has not happened that way could be because of us having to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm open to that possibility because most people are just so hell-bent on, what's supposed to happen for them that they miss that, their lives are not their own. And I really honestly believe that. I don't believe my life is my own.
And, because I think people just desire what we have in their significant other also. Like, that's somebody true. Told me, like, nigga, what y'all have is what people want. in their marriage or whatever. Y'all actually have a genuine friendship and y'all ain't sleeping together or nothing. Like niggas don't have that in their own household. And so I think people see that and it's something that they want to covet. And so because they see themselves in that, they'll say, why don't y'all just boom. Both of you getting over this and that. But it's because they see themselves in that. And it's a good idea to them. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason why we never crossed that line. Mm-hmm. So
and I think I think most of it is because of who AJ is, guys. Like, honestly. And I'm not trying to, like, take myself out of... Well, let me finish. I'm going to tell you. I don't think it's... So, I hope that this translates very well. But I think that you'll understand the reason why I really do adore this man. The reason is because AJ loves God. I know that AJ loves God. And AJ... I can't say that you are fearful of God more than you just have a love and admiration for who God is. So much so that you would never cause me any harm because you know that I am his creation. Yeah. And that's the part that makes me adore him, because I have past traumas. I have things that have happened to me, and I never feel like those things are being threatened when I'm with him. Right. And it's not because of him being, around me and things like that make me feel that way. It's because of those times that I haven't been with you. The way that you treat other women, the way that you treat your mom, the way that you treat your brother. And yes, you get frustrated and things like that when it comes to those individuals. But as far as just, you being consistent with your love. Yeah. Those type of things to me are priceless. And that's why I will always have that sort of love and admiration for you, because to me, I feel like you never pressure me. You never make me want to, it's never been that, you know what I mean? And I think that's the reason why people are still striving or looking for that in their marriages and stuff like that, is because everybody's trying to push the envelope.
It's not something that can be forced.
It can't. What's next?
We didn't work towards this.
No, I cannot say that I did. I cannot say that I did a workbook and I was like, oh, AJ's the match. Like, let me do a BuzzFeed.
I didn't but nah, I'll leave that for a later day.
Okay. But that's what I'm saying. It was very organic. It was something like I looked up and saw. Yeah. We tried to, like, I'm going to be honest, like, we tried to see how it all fits together. But at the end of the day, what I told AJ is, I think that the blessings and the lessons have been more deep and more valuable outside of a romantic situation. You correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, like, I can only speak for Darah. It seems like God has just been doing so many things outside, like even as we minister together and not being married. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, why do we feel like just because there are all these outside individuals telling us what we should do, connected to God or not, it's almost like, why do we have to listen to what they're saying? Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying that, like, I feel like that's why we're here. And that's our individualism to me.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and we both, what you're saying is spot on. Like, because we both have our own individual relationships with God and we can hear from God and we both understand each other, I think that's what really helps us. Like we said early on, we're built for that relationship with God and that relationship with each other. Like, we understand that our relationship with each other is important to God. And I can't say it's equally as important to us because I can't measure what's important to God. There's no way for me to measure that. Right. But we do hold each other in such a high regard. Like, I don't think I could hold you at a low regard, like, ever. Like, there's my mother and then there's you. And the reason is because my mother nurtured me. Like, my mother did her best to raise me and everything. She loved me. The reason I came to God was because of my mother. What I didn't share was before I had ran into Anwar, like a week before that, I was in my room and I was by myself. I was in the house by myself. I was in my room and I just kind of went out in a trance. Like, God gave me an out-of-body experience and took me into my mother's room and I seen my mother inside her bed crying. And I was, because I'm thinking it's like real life, I'm saying, Mom, what's wrong with you? Mom, what's wrong? Like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? But she couldn't hear me or anything. And then God took me like in a kind of like a time capsule and was showing me all the things me and my brother did that hurt my mother. And then he was showing me, like, even through all these things, she still spent all this money on y'all to keep you out of trouble. She still bought your car. She still did these things. All these acts of love, regardless of what you done to her, she's still showing these acts of love. And he was like, and this is what you're doing to me. And I didn't know how to respond to that. I didn't really know what was up. But that's why I was so open when I had ran into Anwar, and he was like, come to Bible study with me. And then that's how all that came to pass. Yeah. But then with you, even when I was going through that dark time, you didn't judge me. You allowed me to spew out all of that. And at that time, I was younger. I was immature. I didn't even realize that I'm spitting out all this darkness on you and how it could have affected you and anything. That's why I said when you was like, you was praying for me, I was like, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that back then. But that was big. But you were patient with me. You was caring and you was graceful. And like you were saying, you would challenge me to like really look at myself. And no woman has ever done that. And it really, as a man, and many men will tell you this, like, we're not to be challenged by women. Not saying like it's not supposed to happen, but it's less likely that we'll receive a challenge from a woman than we will a man. A man will get more defensive. He'll have more of the kind of, like, who the hell you think you talking to type of. But you did that and you did it gracefully and you cared. And it's like you loved me all the way out of that darkness. And even when I felt like my own men turned their back on me, you were still there. And forever, regardless, I would always look at you like, if it was up to me, she's never gonna have to suffer for anything. She'll never have to want for anything. I'll always be there for her. I'll always take care of her. Just because of that alone. And it's only a couple people in this life that I feel like I will always be indebted to. And you're one of them. But because of that, because when I was in my darkest time where I didn't even want to live anymore, you was right there and you walked with me through that whole thing. And so that's probably one reason why I don't really expect a lot of people to understand our relationship because that's something a lot of people haven't really experienced. So a lot of people go through dark times by themselves or will have to go to a therapist. And in our community, many people ain't even going to a therapist. And so you was like my therapist. You was like my therapist and you was like my sister. You was like somebody that just genuinely cared. And I needed that. And plus I had my perspective of women at the time was not really a healthy perspective of women. And I tell you all the time, like, you changed my perspective of women. You really broke me down. Like, if I had a brick wall up.
Y'all, like, can we highlight this right here? Like, we have to. This man was the most misogynistic joint that I ever met in my life. I never knew anybody like AJ. Like, AJ,
damn,
and it wasn't
like
just,
that.
but it wasn't just you. It wasn't just you. It was the other soldiers that was with you. And we used to, like, the women, you know, I don't want to pinpoint nobody, but we used to be like, they are crazy. It was one point when you told me, y'all, AJ was like, what did he say? I think he said something like, it ain't gonna be no woman. No, you had a checklist.
All right, what is
she
that?
Can't have no kids. She can't have. What did you say? It was something.
It was like, a lot, but that's still there.
He had a hardcore list. And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with the list because I feel like I have one too. Like there's a set of standards that, you know, that I have for, you know, somebody who's going to be leading my life. Yeah. But it was like some radical stuff that was on there. Like this man, oh my gosh, y'all don't even know. Like when I think about it, I'm going to think about it a little bit more. I feel like I'm on a spot right now, but I'm going to think about it a little bit more. But you have come a long way. Like from even like your posture, like the way you even like respect women, the way you speak about them. He was a very like female kind of like dude. And I call female kind of dudes because we had that conversation. Yeah. Like who'd be like, I don't listen to no females or can't no female say da 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 to you. And what I said to AJ was, I understand what you're saying, but just know that when you diminish a woman down to just a female, like you literally are just talking about her anatomy, but you're not giving her the credit for being an intellectual
You're the reason
person.
I had stopped saying female. Yes. But you know what's funny?
What?
So I think you're the only woman that I know that has that. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I see even E.T., you know I follow E.T. Even E.T. says female and I'm like, I know how his wife is. His wife doesn't check him on that. But even like, so it's like even stand up men that I know, even women that I still hold in high regard.
They say female.
Yeah.
I work with women who say female, but I think that and that's just me, I'm just a very like I said, I'm a thinker. So I think about the fact that when you call somebody a female, you are reducing them to, their reproductive organs or, the genitalia that they were born with, because you can say, female cow, you can say female dog, you can say female da-da-da-da. But when you're talking about a human being, we're talking about intellectual property. We're talking about, being able to think for yourself, being able to exist in a space, having spirituality. How about that? So I can't be just a female. I'm a woman. I'm a human woman. And so that's why I say, and it's not even, I don't feel disrespected. And after God's own image, so. Right. And I don't feel disrespected when people, refer to me as a female. But when I talked to AJ about that, I was, just trying to challenge him to think about that. Because I do feel like there are a lot of men who use that type of verbiage, not really knowing that that's what they're doing is just diminishing. And they do know, they know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing. If that makes any sense. It's almost like there's still that degradation and disrespect that they have for women. Yeah. But they don't realize what they're doing when they say female. All right,
so that's what we're here to break down too.
Yes.
That right there.
Yes, that sort of
you legit changed that in my life. I could definitely say that.
What you being degrading towards women?
The whole that too, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I was really degrading women. I don't.
Because you never called them, these.
No, I did.
You did? You used that word? I know how much you hate it, so you used to call women.
What?
Wow.
I was like King B word.
Really?
Everybody.
I'm only not using it, guys, because he does not like that word, and I really will not use it.
Yeah, I really do not like that word. I don't even know how. Well, no, I do know. One day I used to use it heavily. Males and females didn't matter to me. Men and women. Sorry. And one day I was talking to my friend. Talking to a friend of mine, buddy of mine from the neighborhood, and I called him that. And he was like, he uses it all the time. This dude uses it all the time, still to this day. And so he said to me, he was like, Dad, they call me Many-Me around the way. He's like, Dad, Manny. He's like, why you gotta say it like that? And I'm like, how I say it? He's like, man, when you say it, it sound like got extra power to it. What? Like you really mean it. And he probably said it jokingly or whatever, but when I listened to it, when I really heard him, and I hear myself say it, I was like, damn.
You felt that conviction.
Yeah. And I from that day on, I had stopped using it. And then when I hear men refer to women as that, I'm like, it's just like poison in my ears. It's like, it's
dig.
Yeah.
Dig. So I want to bring it back.
We thank you all for listening. But due to the duration of this first episode, we decided to break it into 2 parts. All right. So, 1A, as you just heard, was more so introducing you to the podcast and just giving you a little bit of information about Darah and I, a little bit of background. 1B, we dove a little bit more into individualism and relationships, and we pray that there's things that you can grab from this, perspectives you can open your minds to, because we really do want to just contribute to the world, and we do want to hear from you. So, you can share this with your friends, subscribe, comment, reach out to us, because we want to hear your perspectives. We want to hear your opinions, and we like to understand from as many perspectives as possible. That way we may be a blessing to people, and y'all can be a blessing to us. So, we love you guys. Pray you continue listening, and just enjoy.